What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. I'm the Prep Queen, Ariel Epstein. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you all had a really good Mother's Day yesterday. If you are a mother, happy Mother's Day, belated. If you have your mother, if you're just whatever it was with Mother's Day yesterday, I hope that you had a very good day and honored the very great women in your life. We're going to honor all of you today for being here. I really need to send out this tweet about the great guests we're about to have on our show today. Oh gosh, I really wish that I had someone to help me out with all this. But okay, anyway, I tweeted it out. Happy Monday. A lot going on. Oh my gosh. So we had the NFL release the first game of the season, which is the Cowboys and Eagles. We've got NBA. The lottery is tonight. Who's going to get the first pick in the draft, which indicates who's going to get Cooper Flag. We've got NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, Major League Baseball going on. To help us all out with that, Mid-Major Matt's going to talk baseball props at 5:10 p.m. Eastern Time. 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, VSiN's Greg Peterson. He is a basketball savant. He's going to join the show again. Super excited to have them on and give us some of our great takes of the day. But I'll start with the NBA because we've got a lot of interesting stuff going on. So the NBA lottery is tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. My friend Julian Edlow, who came on the show before, this is actually the amount of bets coming in on each team to draft Cooper Flag with the number 1 overall pick at DraftKings Sportsbook. So the Wizards have the most bet at 6-1, Jazz, then Hornets, Bulls, and Spurs. So those are the teams that the public is on for who's going to be drafting Cooper Flag number 1 overall. And of course, we find out a lot today with the lottery. So according to Yahoo Sports, the Jazz, the Wizards, and the Hornets all have the best percentage chance to draft with the number 1 overall pick. They're at 14%. The Pelicans, 12.5%. And the 76ers, 10.5%. They're a top 6 protected pick, the 76ers. I know that Mid-Major Matt's going to come on and talk about this for a smidge when he comes up in 10 minutes because he's a big Sixers fan. So he's probably going to be really upset about that. Shawn Michael, thanks to Ariel and Giannis for the UFC upset on Saturday. You are very welcome. Happy Monday. Talk to some people. Jessica Brand is back. She was gone a couple days ago that we did the show, but glad to see her back. Shawn Michael says he has Sixers. Daniel says Jazz. So we'll see tonight after the lottery. Some other NBA news. This one first. So Shams reported that Giannis Antetokounmpo hasn't made any firm decisions, but for the first time in his career, he's open-minded about whether it's the best fit for him to stay in Milwaukee or going elsewhere. So of course, we have the odds for the next team that Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be on. DraftKings Sportsbook has him favored to stay in Milwaukee at -200. Then the Houston Rockets at, I think that's 6-1. San Antonio Spurs 12-1. OKC 14-1. Golden State 15-1. The New York Knicks aren't even on the board. After getting Karl Anthony Towns, that's out. But I know Knicks fans were like dying to get him. So this is a very interesting list. Houston would be really interesting. I don't know what they would do because you've got a few bigs on there already. Him and Şengün would be insane, but can that even work? Spurs, you already have Wemby, so I guess that would be a crazy power duo of a power forward and center if Wemby's back healthy. OKC, I just don't see it. They're so young. And Chet's there. Seems conflicting. Golden State, Draymond's there. Brooklyn Nets, his career will die there. Lakers, always in the mix because it's LeBron. People retire in Phoenix. Miami has too many bigs already. Again, this all is obviously relative to if people imagine Dallas, right? 30-1 for Dallas. I know that you already have your big signing there, but I don't know. Dallas is intriguing if you want to bring some fans back. No Pistons. I don't see them there either. I feel like the Pistons are kind of like an OKC where you're just so young and you've got this young talent. But the Pistons could be interesting because, I don't know, I guess to complement Jalen Duren, a Sir Thompson's not it. I agree with you, Sean. It would be a great fit with Cade. So yeah, those are the next team odds for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, we always know that the NFL is king. No matter what time of year it is, the NFL always takes over. We have the NBA lottery tonight, the NBA playoffs tonight, Stanley Cup playoffs tonight, and yet the the NFL releases that we are going to have a game one between the Cowboys and the Eagles. So, of course, the numbers are already out. I don't trust anything dealing with the Cowboys. So, Eagles -6.5, my Super Bowl champs, total 46.5. We do have some props posted as well. Nothing like crazy, but these are some props for week one. For Saquon to have over 100 rushing yards, CeeDee Lamb over 100 receiving yards, A.J. Brown over 100 receiving yards, Saquon to score 2+ touchdowns, Jalen Hurts 250+ passing yards, Dak Prescott 300+ passing yards, Saquon 150+ rushing yards, CeeDee Lamb 150+ receiving yards, and A.J. Brown 150+ receiving yards. I have no interest in anything to do with the receivers for the Cowboys or the Eagles. Anything against that Eagles defense was unders for me last year. They were freaking good. The Cowboys, on the other hand, not so much. And I'll actually grab some of the stats from last year. Defenses. I wanted to pull up some of the defensive stats from 2024 because some of these teams, like I remember the Cowboys, for example. Let's see, wide receivers. I should have done this before. My bad. So the Cowboys last year allowed the 4th, 5th, 6th most receiving yards per game to wide receivers. So you keep that in mind. And then for running backs last year, I know the Eagles were freaking good. The Eagles, they allowed the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The Eagles allowed the 7th least rushing yards per game to running backs. The Cowboys were more middle of the pack, so for Saquon to have a big game, I wouldn't go and we'll see. But Daniel thinks Saquon roast them if he's healthy. Get Matt to talk about this game. You're so right. NFL Lines gives me that Christmas morning feel from Sean Michael. I know. It's crazy to think, but we've still got a lot of time and we still have a summer ahead of us. So I have absolutely no interest in thinking about football because I really want to enjoy my summer. But it is kind of crazy to think that we've got lines up and we're going to have a lot more. There's going to be a lot of releases in the NFL between today and Wednesday, but Wednesday night is the official reveal for all the schedules. We're going to have some guests on at the end of the week to talk some NFL scheduling. You're going to see some big line moves between now and then because not only have we seen line moves in the NFL because of the NFL draft, we've seen things happen in the offseason, still don't know where Aaron Rodgers is going. Bottom line, scheduling's everything. If you see that teams have certain divisional games back-to-back, that affects your win total. You see teams don't have a bye until later in the year. Or they have a bye earlier in the year. And then, there's so many things that factor in. So if I were you guys, and I might do this on maybe Wednesday morning, even though we're going to start to get some leaks this week, snapshot the lines and then see what moved. See if the juice moves on either side. See if a win total moves on either side. Because then you'll know for sure if something is being impacted by what came out with the scheduling. And then you could definitely dive much deeper into those NFL schedules. So again, Cowboys and Eagles are posted. Eagles -6.5. It is a big day in Philadelphia because you've got an Eagles line posted. You've got the lottery tonight. And I know my good friend coming up next, Mid-Major Matt, is completely convinced that the NBA hates the 76ers and will give the 76ers absolutely zero chance of having somebody who's fun to come into the city and wreck things. But we do have some Major League Baseball to get to as well. And my great friend, Mid-Major Matt, is going to join the show to talk all things Major League Baseball props. And you can check out our MLB spreadsheet at thepropqueen.com. We post all the information that you need to know about any pitcher props that are on the board. It goes through every single game. It is our favorite thing in the world. Mid-Major Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show again.
So you ready for this fun thing? So my conspiracy for tonight is, first off, if the Sixers win, Adam Silver will cancel it and then pay off the accountant so that way it doesn't count. But I think tonight's winner is going to be Dallas because I think this is the wink part of the deal for Luka, that the NBA wanted Luka to go to the Lakers. So they promised Dallas Cooper Flag and they're going to win the lottery tonight.
Wow. See, that would be a major upset because I was looking before at the odds for like the percentage chance for each team. Dallas, let's see, is at a 1.8% according to Yahoo to get the first overall pick.
I think it's worth like a 50-cent bet, whatever the minimum is on your sports book. We can't bet on it here in Virginia, but I would put like a quarter or 50 cents on Dallas for the ultimate conspiracy theory tonight to win Cooper Flag.
Hey, that's what I was kind of saying about Giannis too. Like there's something about Giannis Antetokounmpo in Dallas that it's like, hey, we'll give you Giannis back since you guys were so nice in giving up Luka. We'll see. We'll see what happens in Dallas. But your Eagles now, they also are matching up with the Cowboys to start the season. How do Eagles fans feel about that divisional matchup for the first game?
So this is the third time since like 2002 or 2003 that we've had divisional game be the very first game of the season. I think it's terrible in terms of, division game should be week 4 or later because we know sloppy football happens in this first game. I mean, we've had some great ones. The Lions and the Chiefs were great. Last year, the Ravens and the Chiefs were great. But like, I just don't think you should have division games be that week 1. And unless every single team is playing a division game, then it's an unfair advantage for everybody else. Obviously, the Chiefs and the Chargers are playing on Friday, so that's another divisional game. But I do appreciate the NFL giving the Eagles a victory the very first game because we know they're going to beat Dallas. Let's be honest. The Cowboys are terrible. They're going to be in third, and they'll be a far third behind.
You're not sold on George Pickens coming over as a wide receiver, changing the game for the Cowboys?
George Pickens is going to have 2 catches for like 10 yards. Quinyon Mitchell's going to shut him down. He's going to complain, and it'll all begin for Dallas's downfall this season.
Before we get to baseball, do any of the props on the board for the Cowboys-Eagles game that are out on FanDuel stand out to you?
So I saw, these are interesting because I think Saquon, the score 2 TDs might be, but I noticed on DraftKings, A.J. Dillon, the score touchdown was like 8-1. A.J. Dillon, if they get rid of the tush push, A.J. Dillon will become the tush push essentially on the 1-yard line. They'll hand the ball off to him and he'll get in because he is so good at getting short yardage. So I almost think looking at a A.J. Dillon touchdown in this game might be worth a look, especially if they get rid of the tush push.
That's going to be very far down the line. We have to wait for June, July, August, September, 4 more months until we get to see some NFL action. Well, in the NFL. So let's get to what people could do today in Major League Baseball. You are looking at some props. No Cal Quantrill on your card today, mid-major, Matt. Why is that?
Well, I mean, I do have the Cubs first 5 over 2.5. I think that is.
Look, yeah, I left that off. It didn't fit, so I figured I'd ask you about that.
I'm tired of taking his under on strikeouts and having him turn into Cy Young. Like, how did he have, I mean, we know now why, but 6 strikeouts against the Dodgers, that was impressive. So, I mean, look, I'd look probably at his strikeout under, but, the Cubs are a team that we know could be hot and cold when it comes to strikeouts. But yeah, this is my opportunity. I know the wind's not blowing out in Chicago, but there are a ton of guys who have great numbers against Quantrill in this lineup, and the Cubs are the number 1 first 5 offense at home this season. They're averaging like 3.6 runs per game. And we got a 2.5. So that's my Quantrill fade for today, is taking the Cubs lineup over 2.5 runs in the first 5.
Okay. I like the approach. It's true. The Quantrill props are kind of like the Patrick Corbin props at this point. Sometimes it's just so hard to get a good number on such a bad pitcher, but you do have a number that you like on a pitcher. You're taking an over 3.5 Ks here in this Tigers Red Sox game. Why?
Yeah, Job has been all right. I mean, look, he's a young pitcher who's got a great future. But if you look at like his strikeout numbers the past couple of starts, he's gone over this 3.5 in 3 of his last 4 starts, and against some decent competition too. I believe one of those games was against the Royals, who we know at times is a very tough team to strike out. So yeah, it's Houston, who is a team that's at times very good with contact. 5 against Kansas City at home, and then he also had 4 at home against the White Sox. I just think this number's a little too low. The Red Sox still do strike out a lot. 12 of the last 16 right-handed starting pitchers have gone over this against Boston. So I'm going to take a shot on the young kid, maybe the first time through the order, getting 2 or 3 strikeouts, and then the second time maybe getting another 2 or 3.
Before I get to the rest of your card, Shawn Michaels did have an interesting one to ask because Matt, that everyone's going to be talking about Paul Skeens. He's on the mound tonight, 6.5K prop. Thoughts on Skeens?
Yeah, as well, more than everybody else, I hate the top end of the market because everybody just assumes that he's going to go over. Everybody just assumes like, hey, it's Paul Skeens. Of course he's going to get 7 strikeouts. Like he does that every time. But like this year, he actually hasn't been a guarantee for that sort of thing. And so I almost think there might be some value on the under. He had 6 strikeouts in St. Louis. He had 2 at home against the Cubs. He's actually gone under this number more often than not this season. So like, it's not a guarantee. You're almost paying a tax on Paul Skeens, a Paul Skeens tax on his over. So I don't think juice-wise it's over. Plus, there are not a ton of pitchers who have gone over this number against the Mets. If you look at the guys who have 7 or more, Hunter Brown had 7, Bassett had 9, Joe Ryan had 8, and Zach Wheeler had 9, and Zach Gallen had 8. Other than that, everybody else has gone under the 6. Now, if you think that he's on level with a lot of those pitchers, which he probably is, you might look at the over, but just know you're paying a tax on the Paul Skeens over because the books know everybody just blindly bets is over.
Yep, and that's why I am staying away from Paul Skeens today. The Mets don't have that high of a K rate anyway. Then you've got Holmes under 2.5 earned runs allowed. Why you laying the juice minus 140?
Well, I'm really angry at the Nationals.
That's a good reason to bet something.
If you put the 3 pitchers over the weekend, they faced Eric Fetty, Andre Palante, and Miles Michaelis, and they looked horrible against all 3 of them. And I'm still mad I lost my Michaelis under 3.5 because he couldn't strike me out, I don't think. And so, like, to see the Nationals and the way they've been hitting, especially against bad pitching, like Holmes is coming off some rough outings. I understand that, but at home he pitches better. 10 of the last 13 right-handed starting pitchers have gone under this against Washington, and there's a chance at a weather delay tonight, maybe even early in the game, which could take him out of the game and give us a shot at the under 2.5. I just don't like the form of this Nationals lineup right now. So that's why we're taking the under on Grant Holmes. And remember, unearned runs are tremendous. Like, let him give up a bunch of unearned runs because that doesn't affect this bet. So I'm taking the under there.
How do you account for earned runs for unearned runs when handicapping?
So, I mean, you have to look at some teams who are good at fielding and bad at fielding. There's some teams who are not very good at fielding the ball. And you kind of notice, like, when you look at starting pitchers in terms of how many earned runs they have and unearned runs, if they're giving up a lot of runs, but most of them are unearned, then that's a situation where you could kind of take advantage of that sort of thing because, unearned runs do not lose this bet. That's why whenever we look at like the first 5 run total and we look at the unearned or the earned runs allowed prop in baseball, like those are 2 different handicaps because one includes errors and one doesn't include errors. So I think Holmes is going to do pretty well. I think his fielding is pretty good in Atlanta. So that's why we're looking at the under 2.5 here.
Hancock over 4.5 hits allowed. That game is against the Yankees. You actually have 2 plays in this game, but why do you think the Yankees smash Hancock?
Well, Hancock, the last 4 of his last 5 starts, he gave up 9 hits to the Angels at home. He gave up 5 in Boston, 5 against Cincinnati. And of course, there's that game back in March where he gave up 7 hits to the Tigers in 2/3 of an inning. And look, your Yankees, 12 of the last 17 times have gone over 4.5 hits against New York, against right-handed starting pitchers. And so, look, I mean, you're going to give me a guy who's probably going to give me 5 or 6 innings here. And I think, once again, people are going to be like, you keep saying this, but 4.5 is a spreadable amount in terms of hits. 2 hits this inning, 1 hit this inning, 1 hit this inning. Then you're at 4, and then you just need 1 more. Hancock went over. He broke that kind of streak for pitchers against the Angels in Sacramento, or the A's in Sacramento. He went 6 innings in that game. He's gone 6 innings in his last 3 starts. This is a very nice spreadable hits number for a team like the Yankees, who can certainly do so.
Yeah, the Yankees can do damage out there. They tend to do decently against Seattle and right-handers. I was looking at some of their stats from this game that MLB sent along, but the Mariners are pretty hot right now. They were one of the, entering the weekend, and then, of course, they got outscored 21-7 in 3 games over the weekend, but their starting pitching has been an absolute problem. And then the Yankees, they lead the major in runs, home runs, on-base percentage, slugging, WRC+. The Mariners have a bad reputation of hits. So for Clark Schmidt, under 5.5 Ks, we agree on this. The splits have just been drastic on the Mariners, especially their difference in their strikeout rate from last year to this year. My concern is just, can Schmidt get taken out fast enough so he doesn't hit this number?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And only 5 right-hand starting pitchers have gone over this number against Seattle. Luis Severino on opening day. Casey Mize went over this number. These guys have all had 6. Brady Singer had 6. And then Max Meyer and Jack Kochanowicz for the Angels.
Your favorite name.
It's a tough name to say, but he had 6 strikeouts in this against them. And so, you look at some of the guys lately. I mean, Francis is 5. That's a little high, but, Gossman had 3 and Hoagland had 3 and Severino had 5. DeGrom had 3 in 5 innings. The key here is we need Schmidt out after 5. I mean, maybe one of those Aaron Boone games where he takes out Schmidt a little early because he's pitching well and they want to preserve him for later on in the season. And we know Aaron Boone loves doing that with Clark Schmidt because that's why I never play his outs. He's one of those guys that even when he's pitching well, there's a chance that they don't want to stretch him because he's a young arm. He's had injury issues in the past. So we just need him to go 5 here. And I think if he goes only 5, I think we got a shot here on this under.
The good thing there, I'm looking at the Yankees MLB, like the Yankees bullpen usage. Luke Weaver hasn't thrown since Wednesday. Tim Hill hasn't really thrown this week. Mark Leiter, Fernando Cruz, they're all pretty much available. The Yankees pitching that they used the last couple of days weren't their best bullpen arms. So I think that you could see the Yankees utilizing their better bullpen arms. Like they could, if Schmidt's getting into some jams and is in some trouble, then I could see the Yankees pulling him. I'm trying to see who is up tomorrow. You probably know from the spreadsheet. Max Fried. Perfect. I think that we have a good shot of pulling Schmidt.
Well, and the outs number is 15.5 juice to the under for Schmidt. And what we've talked about here on this show before is we almost like to let the prop numbers try and tell the story, and then we just have to decide if we agree with it. An outs number and an earned runs allowed number will tell us what the book thinks in terms of how well or how bad these guys are going to do. I'm looking to see what his earned runs allowed is. It's 2.5 juice to the under. So they think he's going to go 5-ish innings, give up maybe 2 earned runs, like 5 or 6 hits. And the question is, how many strikeouts is he going to sprinkle in there? And hopefully for us, it's less than 5.5.
Yeah, Steam's on the Yankees. It's minus 134 last night, minus 146 now. Seattle plus 114 goes down to plus 124. Total's 8, so not too high scoring. So maybe they just think it's a nice little pitcher's duel with the Yankees being able to hit very well. Anything from the weekend that stand out to you, Matt?
So every once in a while, I wish I could throw more on a certain bet. I mean, the Urena bet yesterday was fascinating. We
were so excited when he made his comeback to the bigs.
He is a 2.5 guy, 3.5 guy. They said a 3.5 number. He went through the lineup once. He only lasted 2 innings. But yeah, the thing that struck out to me this weekend was just the Nationals' performance against Fedde, Palante, and Michaelis. Like Fedde threw a complete game shutout. I mean, that should not be allowed. And then Palante, who, look, I like Palante. Well, you and I have a joke that I like Palante, but he had 7 strikeouts. The numbers were 3.5 all weekend, and these guys went over by a lot. And so, this is where you almost have to decide, is this just a bad series for the Nationals, or is this one of those things where now we can't count on the Nationals anymore in terms of plus matchups? I thought that was interesting. I thought the Phillies' performance in Cleveland was rather interesting, seeing Ranger Suarez go 7 innings. Like, if Ranger's back, that's huge for that rotation. But also seeing Cleveland kind of struggle against Wheeler yesterday. A lot of people are going to struggle against Wheeler. There was a lot of last batter wins over the weekend, so those are kind of tough to certainly swallow because, you handicap a game. Oh, it was Taj Bradley, I believe, who went over against Milwaukee. He got the last 2 batters after a rain delay. Like, if you lost the under on Taj Bradley, I think it was Saturday, you lost one of the worst beats of the season because it was like an hour rain delay. Like, he should not have come out. He comes back, gets 2 strikeouts of the last 2 batters, goes over his number, and then is done right afterwards. That's the most rough beat you probably could have all season.
Ugh, that is just disgusting. No, thank you. And that always tends to happen. You also, I'm actually shocked. You didn't bet something that you told me you were going to bet today. You told me this morning you like Colin Ray over 4.5 Ks. Why'd you change your mind?
The juice, mostly. I mean, I don't love the juice in a lot of places. And I just, he's the type of guy that he's kind of scary at times. And this is a Marlins lineup that I think will struggle against Colin Ray. But I also, sometimes he gets taken out a little early. And I always like to look at the guy's previous last start to see what his pitch number is. So he threw 92 pitches 3 starts ago, then 73, and then 92 again. So he could be a candidate to get taken out early in this game. And as you mentioned, 4 against San Francisco, 2 in Pittsburgh. Like, come on, 2 in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. So his numbers were kind of all over the place. So it'll be one of those things I regret later, and I'll text you. I'll be like, yeah, we should have taken Colin Ray, but I couldn't do it.
I know that always tends to happen to us. We do have a little bit of breaking news for you, Matt. Not that crazy, but they just posted to X, Adam Schefter, about your Eagles again.
Oh, no.
Your Eagles are making headlines because, let me get this popped up on the screen in case everyone's just too busy paying attention to this. No, wait. Ooh. Week 16 doubleheader, Saturday, December 20th. The Eagles are at your Commanders. I mean, it's like your Eagles at like your team that you're closer to, the Commanders.
So I think that's interesting. So it's very ironic that you said that this came up, because on my show today, when we were talking about the schedule leaks and stuff, I thought that Christmas this year was going to be an NFC Christmas because last year it was an AFC Christmas. And I had actually said Eagles, Commanders, and I think I said Lions and Vikings. I thought would be the Christmas doubleheader, but clearly it can't be because they're playing Saturday, December 20th. They're not going to make the teams quickly turn around like that. But look, I think the Eagles and the Commanders are 1 and 2 in this division. I think the Commanders probably win the division. But by the way, did you notice the NFC East has the toughest schedules you could possibly have this coming season?
Who is it? I didn't look.
So it's the NFC East plays the NFC North, in which there's no easy wins, not even the Bears. They play the AFC West, which means basically, where are you playing the Raiders? That's potentially the easiest game. And then they're matching up with the AFC East on the road, depending on their standing. So Bills, Eagles in Buffalo. I forget who finished second, but the Dolphins, that's who the Commanders are playing. So like, it is a really tough schedule this year for the NFC East. I feel like 10 wins probably wins that division. And right now I'm picking Washington because remember, nobody ever, follows up a division championship with another one in this division.
Well, and that's what's pretty crazy because, oh gosh, I hate this split screen. 1 second. Okay, we're back. The Eagles right now on FanDuel have a win total of 11.5. Over plus 100, under minus 120 for your Eagles.
So here's the fun thing with regards to the Eagles. Here's their road games out of division. Okay, it is about as impossible as you can get. They play at Green Bay, at Minnesota, at Tampa Bay, at Kansas City, at LA, the Chargers, and then at the Bills. Those are all their road games. And they're not going to lose all of them, but their home games are Chicago, Detroit, the Rams, the Broncos, and the Raiders. So like, to me, sight unseen, I would take the under 11.5 because they're going to be good.
And it's a tough division in itself.
Right, exactly. They'll win 4 games at least in the division. They'll probably sweep the Giants unless they're the Week 18 opponent and they don't need it. They'll split with the Commanders probably, and we'll probably split with the Cowboys too. But like 11.5 is really high based on this schedule this year.
It is really high for an 11.5. And just for the commies, their win total is at 9.5 with the over at plus 100. So they pretty much are giving you the same odds. So if you're thinking like Matt is, then you would think an over 9.5 wins at plus 100 for the Commanders and then a minus 120 under 11.5 for the Eagles.
Now, the Commanders' road schedule is Green Bay, Minnesota, Atlanta, Kansas City, the Chargers, and it's rumored that they're going to go to Madrid to play the Dolphins. And their home schedule is Chicago, Detroit, Seattle, Denver, and Vegas. I think the Commanders are going to be very good this year, and I think that 10 wins seems about right for them. I think 10 wins this division this year.
Yeah, I'm super interested to see how these win totals shift once we get the schedules on Wednesday, because there's going to be some teams that go up or down by a win because of the schedule release. But we could talk about that on Friday when Mid-Major Matt comes back to join the show. Matt, thank you so much for coming on as always, and good luck to your 76ers in the lottery tonight.
Dallas Mavericks. That's the conspiracy for tonight.
I love a good conspiracy theory. Good luck with your MLB props too.
Thank you.
Making sure I get the transition right. Okay. Our next guest, he's an encyclopedia. He knows everything there is to know about the sport of basketball. Baseball, too. I don't know. I told him I have no clue which direction he's going to take me because I'm going to ask him about whatever he's got. We've got to talk NBA lottery. We've got to talk NBA playoffs. We've got to talk Major League Baseball. We've got so many numbers for the Encyclopedia of Sports to be joining the show. So bringing on my good friend from VSiN, Greg Peterson. What's going on, my friend? You're muted. I can't hear you. Nope, still don't have you. I wish I had a producer. And I would have told you that maybe it's my problem, but I just heard Matt the whole time. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Let's see.
There we go. Got you.
There we go. Perfect. Well, I do appreciate it. And is that changing landscape in baseball right now? Because now you're starting to get everything set there. And in terms of the NBA playoffs, my goodness, it has been wild and crazy the way that we've been seeing these upsets.
Beyond crazy. So speaking of upsets, of course, the Knicks up 2-1 in the series. The Celtics just got game 3 at Madison Square Garden. We've got the start tonight in the Garden again. Well, the New York Garden. Game 4. Thoughts on the Knicks and the Celtics?
It's so interesting because in both of the games in which the Celtics lost, they had a 20-point lead. And you can look at that one of two ways. You can look at that as the Boston Celtics peeing down their leg, which they did. Let's call it what it is. But in order to blow a 20-point lead, you have to gain a 20-point lead as well, which we don't want to acknowledge that. But at the same time, there was quite a bit of domination by the Celtics in those first 2 games. I do think that they get the job done on the road in this game. But I would not be willing to lay the 6 right now because I sort of want to see the tenor of the game, and you want to see how the Celtics actually come out in that 3-point shooting because it's been feast or famine for them. We saw it in game number 3. They were white hot. First 2 games, they were ice cold. And I think that this is so important to be doing in the NBA because whether you got the regular season or the playoffs, there's so much volatility in the NBA when it comes to the streakiness of shooting where you can always just find a better number in game. Like if you like the Boston Celtics, you're probably going to be able to get a better number than -6 unless if we see a repeat of what the Cleveland Cavaliers did yesterday, which that's rough. Sometimes you just are going to get those games and you have to hold your shekels and move on when you just don't see what you like. But that said, I do think that you're going to see a little bit of volatility here. If you like the Celtics, you can find a little bit better number there. And something that I did in the first 2 games was when the New York Knicks were just down big, I was able to find a much better plus number in game. Those both obviously hit. Probably should have taken the money line instead, but I always think that that's a good way to be able to play it. So I would lean a little bit to the Knicks here, but again, I would rather wait for a better number in game.
You would think that the Knicks, at least in this spot, will keep the game a little bit closer. You're right. They always seem to find a way to get down. Jason Tatum, a big part, though. He hasn't had a great series. This is exactly what all Celtics fans fear when it comes to Jason Tatum. It's like the Joel Embiid problem where everyone hates him because he can't come up in the big time. Yet Tatum had great numbers, Greg, against the Knicks in the regular season. He went over his 27.5 points prop in both games at the Garden in the regular season. How much could you see Tatum bouncing back, or is it really going to be the role players' jobs?
And I do think that it's a little bit more of the role players' jobs when it comes to Boston Celtics, but it's not like Jason Tatum has been chopped liver here in the postseason. He's been averaging about 26 points per contest. He's still doing a nice job giving you a double-figure amount of rebounds. So overall, he's had a relatively good postseason, but it was a little bit cold in those 2 games that they dropped. And I do think that with Jason Tatum, maybe they went a little bit too far in awarding him Superman 2.0 in that commercial. But same time, I think that he's going to be a little bit of a bounce back. I could see him being right around his average, right around about 26, 25 points in this one. Then you get the likes of a Peyton Pritchard to come off the bench, be able to give you some nice threes. And Jaylen Brown has always come up big in the playoffs. That's a guy that I feel like you can bank on.
Yeah, you've got Brunson versus Tatum tonight and seeing who's going to be the Superman of this game because you've got to think it's going to be one of them. Jalen Brunson at the Garden has been absolutely electric this season. Anything else in this game before we go to the night game?
The biggest thing that I'm going to be taking a look at with regards to that total is, again, how does the three-point shooting go early on? Because if you see the Boston Celtics be relatively hot, that's a game that's going to go way over. If you see them go relatively cold, unless if you get some sort of an overtime like we saw earlier in the series, I think that's an under game. So I always think that you can always get really good totals in game as well. And something that I've actually played quite a bit, I did this in the Warriors game on Saturday. When you get sort of a situation where you have a few minutes left and you can just anticipate whether or not there's going to be a sense of urgency or not, being able to take the over/the under there is very big, because when a team is down 15 plus points, they're typically going to mail it in. They're just going to hope to have a little bit or better performance 2 to 3 nights from now. Meanwhile, if it's like a 4-point game, a 6-point game with about 90 seconds remaining, you're able to find some really good opportunities to bet the over live.
For the 10 p.m. game here on the East Coast, the Timberwolves at the Warriors, T-Wolves laying 5 on the road. Before we get to any plays you have, what have you noticed in the couple of games that we've seen now without Steph Curry in this series?
That this Golden State Warriors team had no idea what to do without Steph Curry. Really spoke to me that they played 11 players in the first half in that first game, and they were able to figure out their rotations a little bit more. But I think the big question mark is, what are you going to be able to get out of Braden Podziemski? Because with Podziemski, he's been able to do a nice job of being able to go off the ball.
I keep waiting for the Big Pods game.
I'm waiting for it as well, because he's been playing a big role with the team, but he hasn't necessarily done a lot of scoring. He's done like everything except for scoring for the team. Like, if you've been looking at his over in terms of his assist props, that's actually been doing really well for you, but he just hasn't been able to go off and be able to go into inferno mode. But the one guy that I've really liked what I've seen out of him, and he had himself a nice big game a few nights ago, Jonathan Kuminga. The way that guy has been able to step up has really been speaking to me. And I think that he could be the difference maker in terms of whether or not the Warriors are able to cover this spread or not. I personally am feeling a little bit bearish right now, just with Steph Curry being out of the fold. It has been such a rough go of it for the Warriors. They have no consistency whatsoever. And to the credit of the Warriors, this has actually been a really good defensive expose from them. Like, to have Steph Curry out of the fold and for them to play defense the way that they did in game number 3 really spoke to me. Just tells you where this offense is at. And even though the total is so low at like a 200, I just can't see a way in which I take this over unless I get in game and you get like a really low total and you get a nice discount on it.
How would you play the game tonight?
If anything, I'd be looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. You hope that it's a relatively even up first half, so that way you can maybe get that, instead of -6 that we're seeing right now, down to like a -3.5, -4. But if I had to play this right now, I would be looking at the Timberwolves, because I just don't trust in guys not named Steph Curry on the Warriors. We all know about playoff Jimmy and everything like that. And Jimmy Butler has been solid in this series, but Jimmy Butler is not at the point where he's able to do it all by himself. And I think that for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, by far being the best player out there on the floor, that's just massive in a game where even if it's like a 2-point game, 4-point game with a few minutes remaining, we saw that in game number 3, where the Minnesota Timberwolves were able to pull away. And the only reason why that game was a push was Jonathan Kuminga hits a prayer 3 with like a second remaining.
The Cavs also, and that game is tomorrow, the Cavs and Pacers at 7 p.m. Eastern. Right now, the Cavs are still laying 7.5. However, I just saw Donovan Mitchell with his ankle injury listed as questionable for Tuesday. How do we play this series going further with all these Cavs injuries, Greg?
I think that you do very much have to be playing it game to game, because you just don't know what you're going to get out of the Cavaliers moving forward. And I'm very much an in-game bettor, but I don't know how you lay 8 points here with the Cleveland Cavaliers, especially after what we saw last night. And the Pacers, I just feel like they've been so disrespected over the last few months. If you look at their metrics really ever since Christmas, they've been a top 4, top 5 team in the NBA, especially with regards to their offense. Recognize that the defense leaves a little bit of something to be desired. And for how much we talk about Tyrese Halliburton, how about Pascal Siakam being a Swiss Army knife, giving you exactly what you need, good scoring, good rebounding, good defense. He's just been a guy that I feel like has gotten disrespected in the NBA landscape in general. Now he's finally starting to get his flowers for what the Pacers have done thus far in the playoffs. And it's just one of those cases where with so many question marks with the Cleveland Cavaliers, I just can't trust in them until further notice.
Greg, the West just seems so strong between the Nuggets, the Thunder, the T-Wolves. Sure, the Warriors, if they get Steph back. The East feels like whoever wins this Celtics-Knicks series is the team that probably should be favored to go to the NBA Finals with all the injuries on the Cavs. I know you mentioned the Pacers being disrespected. If there was a a bet between Western Conference versus Eastern Conference. I know it's out there. I just don't know the odds right now, but the West versus the East to win the NBA Finals, the West has to be it, no?
Yeah, I would certainly be going with the West. I mean, unless if you get like an injured Steph Curry Warriors, then you're looking at something completely different. But odds of that happening are so slim. And by that point, you would be having Steph Curry back in the fold. I mean, I've been saying it about the West all season long as well. It just feels like it's the invitation of the OKC Thunder who's going to be facing them. And you do have to have your question marks with the OKC Thunder as well, just because it does feel like that lack of experience does come through a little bit from time to time, but metrically, they've been the best team in the NBA this season. With what they've been able to get other young guys, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander proving that he's a top 5 player in the NBA right now. That has been so impactful to me. So, I mean, if you would get the Nuggets versus the Celtics, I'd be taking the Nuggets in that series. I would certainly be taking the OKC Thunder in that series. I don't know if I could quite do it with the Golden State Warriors, but the Minnesota Timberwolves are another team that I think that they would have the best player out there on the floor, and Anthony Edwards. I would side with them as well.
I mean, you look at the NBA Finals odds, and you've got the Thunder at plus 130 as your favorite, the Celtics 2-1, the T-Wolves then at 9-1, and then the Pacers 14-1, Cavs 14-1, Knicks 18-1. Greg, it's just crazy to think that we've seen the Celtics look pretty exposable in this series against the Knicks. So to be 2-1, I get it, but they're exposable.
Yeah, they certainly are. And the only reason why you're getting that number is that they've got such an easier road than all those Western Conference teams. So by default, they should be able to make the finals. But again, we've seen them have their issues here with the New York Knicks. And what we see here tonight is so impactful because if the Knicks are able to take this game, then the Celtics are very much on the ropes. Then is when you'd want to be betting the Boston Celtics. If you trust in, shall we say, shock quality, shall we say just positive regression in terms of their three-point shooting. But I do agree with you because with the Celtics as well, there's just no banking on that positivity coming because they take so many shots that if you're just so ice cold, I believe that can manifest itself. It gets into these guys' head. And I feel like that's what happened towards the back half of game number 1 into game number 2.
It's just crazy. You say that the Pacers are disrespected, yet they're sitting there at 14-1, the second shortest odds to win the NBA Finals amongst the Eastern Conference teams. The Knicks are at 18-1, and they're up 2-1 in this series with a game tonight at Madison Square Garden against the Celtics. It just showed you how much the book is still so high on the Celtics and so low on the Knicks.
And it also speaks to this as well, the exposure that they have on the Boston Celtics as well. I think that that's a big thing that needs to be taken into account as well, because there have been a lot of books that have taken a lot of money on the Celtics throughout the year. And if they hang that number too low, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that just hammer the Boston Celtics knowing, oh, all right, we're getting a nice discount here. And they don't want to be offering that discount. So I think that there's a little bit in play with that regard as well.
That makes a lot of sense. Very good point. Anything that you like in Major League Baseball, Greg?
Oh, absolutely. We've got ourselves a great slate of games, which, by the way, the fact that we had no day games today and we have no day games tomorrow, that is absolutely ridiculous. That needs to be addressed by Major League Baseball. I'm going to make that known right now, but I do like myself a few underdogs on the card. Yes, the Detroit Tigers, you're able to get them as a very, very slight underdog against the Red Sox. I just am not trusting in Tanner Houck whatsoever. Since the All-Star break in 2024, this guy has not been the same. And Jackson Jobe, I recognize that he's not necessarily the world's greatest pitcher, but if you get Tanner Houck and Jackson Jobe to go even up, who do you trust more, the Red Sox bullpen or the Detroit Tigers bullpen? Give me the Detroit Tigers bullpen all day, every day there. And then with regards to what we're going to be seeing out there a little bit later on, I do think that you've got a little bit of value on the San Francisco Giants, even though Justin Verlander has not.
He hasn't gotten a win, right? Or he hasn't had a win yet this year, or maybe just one.
I think that he had one a little bit earlier on, but for Justin Verlander, he's pitched much better ever since the first 2 or 3 starts of the season, and I just don't trust Merrill Kelly on the road. Like, you look at Merrill Kelly's career numbers when he's at home versus when he's on the road, it's night and day different.
Yeah.
At home, he's got a career 3.25 ERA, 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. On the road, that balloons up to a 4.47 with 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and it goes back to the bullpens for me as well. I feel like when you're betting baseball, if you're a first 5 person, you take out the bullpens, you look squarely at the starting pitching. If you're going to go full game, you better be evaluating these bullpens. You better be on these rotations. You better be on the amount of rest/not rest that these bullpens are having. And for the Giants, they have been a top 6 bullpen all season long. Bunch of long guys like Randy Rodriguez, Hayden Birdsong coming through for them, and Camilo Duvall looking so much better this year. And AJ Puck being up for the Arizona Diamondbacks, I think is a big factor for them as well. So that's a big reason why I did take the Giants here on the money line.
So MLB said Justin Verlander is searching for his first victory in his 9th start with the Giants. He is sitting at 262 career wins, the most among active pitchers. So he, in his last 4 starts, Verlander has a 2.70 ERA. He's pitched well. He hasn't gotten a win. The Giants won't win for him. It's crazy.
It has been, and I think that turns around tonight, though. I think that they get to Merrill Kelly again, who it just hasn't been quite the same on the road, and sometimes you just have that as well, and that's why, because you do such great work with regards to props, yes, no, in order for a pitcher to be able to get a win, I always think it's so dicey, because you could have that ace go out there, give you 6 scoreless settings, 7 scoreless settings, and you don't hit your bet because the schlubs around him do absolutely nothing.
That's why a public bettor who's going to go see that bet, who doesn't really think about it, you get such great value a lot of the times on those wins or to get a win or not bet, because there's so many variables. I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want to rely. It's kind of like completions in the NFL, Greg, where you're betting on passing completions for a quarterback. Why wouldn't I just do pass attempts? I just want the intent to be there for them to throw the football. I don't want it to have to rely on a wide receiver. Get out of here.
Yep, no exactly. Way. Especially when you get in those cold weather games and you got a good case of the Butterfingers for your main wide receiver, something like that. I think that that's such a big way to take a look at it. Just don't take a look at as many variables that are outside that pitcher. Just look at that pitcher in terms of like strikeouts, how far they're going to be able to go into the game. Don't bank on yes, no wins, because the pitcher in this day and age is not betting unless if their name is Shohei Ohtani, and he's currently not pitching.
Correct. So before I let you go, speaking of a lot of variables, there are a lot of variables in the NBA draft lottery tonight, which is at 7 p.m. Eastern time. This is my problem. My good friend Julian Edlow from DraftKings posted this today about the team to draft Cooper Flagg. Of course, once we find out who the first pick is, we'll know. But what would you say about who's going to draft Cooper Flagg? Who do you think is getting that number 1 pick?
Well, you've got the top 3 teams over there with the Wizards, the Jazz, and the Hornets. They've all got an equal amount of ping pong balls, and it's just one of those cases where this is not bettable just because these are fixed odds. Like, there's no way that you can really find an advantage unless if you know that there's some sort of a trade secret, or that back in the day, the Patrick Ewing, like, frozen ball or like frozen card or something like that. There's really no way of being able to do so, because whoever gets the number 1 overall pick, they get their ping pong ball drawn tonight. That's who's going to be drafting Cooper Flagg. So, the best case scenario is you're able to find some team that is maybe a little bit of a long shot that isn't one of those top 3, and they're able to cash in there. But I think the biggest thing that you can do is just play the fixed odds, wait to see how it pans out, and that's the team that's going to be drafting Cooper Flagg. I wish I had more for you, but it's just so tough with you knowing how many different combinations there are.
Mid-Major Matt has a theory that the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic because they're going to get the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
That would be interesting. And if Cooper Flagg goes to Dallas, that would be a great scenario for him. Trust me, I don't think that the NBA wants to be sending him to like Utah or Charlotte. I do think that would be quite wild if that happened.
Right. Like if he goes to Charlotte, you've got LaMelo Ball over there. You've got, and I guess you still have Miles Bridges over. It's just not a good team, not a well-run organization. But you've already had all these little these young stars go there, and nothing's happened. It's just a mess.
Yeah, it really has been. The fact that you had Michael Jordan a part of the ownership group, now shout out to him. He's going to be doing some broadcasts apparently for NBC. That's going to be great. But the fact that he was bailing on them, that's all you need to know right there.
Before I let you go, where would you say is the best fit for Cooper Flagg?
Well, if he could somehow, some way land on the San Antonio Spurs, that would be amazing. Could you imagine Victor Wembanyama and Cooper Flagg on the same team? That would be amazing. And plus, they've got De'Aaron Fox as well. Obviously, a changing of guard with no more Greg Popovich, but that'd be great. Obviously, those teams at the bottom, I mean, even the Atlanta Hawks, I know that people are jaded on Trae Young. They've got a very, very slim percentage of being able to get the pick here, but that would be great. And the Sacramento Kings as well, with all of their young talent, that would be amazing as well. But wherever Cooper Flag is going to be going, he's going to be incredible. He is going to be tearing up the NBA. We saw what he was able to do in college. This guy is a one-of-one unicorn that, any one of these 14 teams, they instantly become a playoff contender right when he gets out there on the court.
So does this team, because I'm going to give you one more. Giannis Antetokounmpo, his odds are on DraftKings. Greg, where is he going? Is he staying?
Well, I am someone from the great state of Wisconsin, and I actually lean to him staying just because I've been able to see the press clippings over the past decade or so. Everyone that I know that went to college with myself, they cover the Milwaukee Bucks, and he really does like being that big fish in a small pond. He's already stayed multiple times before. Obviously, the Dame Lillard situation, him going down with all the health issues towards back half of the season, that was a little bit less than tremendous, but he truly loves the great state of Wisconsin. We saw when he was a rookie and everything like that, talking about how shakes were amazing and everything like that. And he just seems like a humble, down-to-earth guy that is not going to be bolting for some sort of a giant market. So I actually would go with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay, Greg Peterson says that Giannis is staying in Milwaukee, and he's got some great action on the board tonight. Make sure to check him out over at VSiN. You have a show tonight, Greg?
We do not have a show tonight, but we've always got the baseball betting podcast up. That's all 7 days out of the week. And then we keep the Coast to Coast Hoops College Basketball podcast running every single day. It'll be up all 365 days this year.
Perfect. Greg Peterson, make sure to check him out at G_unit. What's the number? 81?
G_81, and ode to my favorite wide receiver back in the day, Anquan Bolden, formerly of the Ravens, the San Francisco 49ers, toughest guy I ever saw suited up in the NFL.
You learn something new every day. We both love Anquan Bolden. I love that so much. Greg Peterson, thank you for hopping on, and good luck tonight.
Always appreciate it, Ariel. Thank you.
Okay. I always get nervous. It's going to pop back on. I've got things to get to for some edges in the market. So let's start. And I have to add all these graphics now. We could start with the New York Knicks. Why is this not working now? Oh, gosh. Thank you. Anyway, some trends for tonight's Knicks-Celtics game. And if you subscribe to the PropQueen.com newsletter, you would have seen this early this morning around 10 a.m. Eastern time, before any of the lines moved. So first, in the Knicks side, in the regular season at Madison Square Garden, the Knicks point guard Jalen Brunson, he's put up 27 and 36 points against the Celtics. He had 27 on Saturday. His points prop went up from 26.5 last game to 27.5 tonight. This could be the 30-plus game for Brunson. The Knicks center, Karl-Anthony Towns, this rebounds prop is very, very fishy. He's had at least 13 rebounds in the last 5 games he's faced the Celtics. Like this year, between this series and the regular season, he's had at least 13 rebounds. Why is Cat's rebounds prop 11.5? Sure, it juices to the over, but it wasn't like a minus 160. It was minus 130 for the over. Fishy, fishy. Knicks small forward OG Anunoby. So he had a huge first game, 29 points. Then he just had 5 points in game 2 and 2 points in game 3. This isn't a surprise. In the regular season, Anunoby didn't put up more than 13 points against the Celtics. His points prop was 16.5 game 2. Now it's down to 14.5 in game 4. Be careful of OG Anunoby. It's under or nothing for me on OG. Celtics trends for tonight. So Jason Tatum, I kind of mentioned this before with Greg. He's done really well this year against the Knicks, did really well at Madison Square Garden, putting up 30-plus points in 3 of 4 regular season matchups. Tatum had 23 points in game 1, 13 in game 2, 22 in game 3, just not the big game. And in the regular season, Tatum had 32 and 40 at Madison Square Garden. His prop has consistently been 27.5. The book refuses to move it. You see everybody else with all their props. Everyone else is moving. And Jason Tatum's points prop at 27.5 continues to stay 27.5. So I think the book's just waiting, as we all are, for the big Jason Tatum game. We also have some numbers now on the Warriors. It's been 5 games without Steph Curry and with Jimmy Butler. The top line is the starting player, like the starters without Steph with Jimmy. That's compared to their regular season overall averages. Again, this is all in the PropQueen.com newsletter. Put it up this morning. Some of these props have moved. Like, I like Draymond unders today. Not only does his points drop off, his rebounds drop off, his assists drop off without Steph on the floor. The book moved Draymond's points prop up from 7.5 to 8.5. Draymond just hasn't had any good games like that. So to take his over scares me a bit on points. His assist prop Draymond dropped since this morning from 5.5 to 4.5. Anything Draymond related, I just look under. I don't want to take overs. It's like Rudy Gobert. Yeah, he'll have the one good game, but everything else, like majority rolls, goes under. Jimmy Butler's numbers are very spot on. Oh, thank you, Daniel. He says the premium subscription is very worth it on the PropQueen.com newsletter. You get all this stuff first thing in the morning. And then I just rehash it like for free on the show. But you want it first thing in the morning. Yeah, Draymond under everything. It feels like Draymond crash out game after last game where he got close, one more technical, and he's suspended. Buddy Hield. Jimmy Butler, I said his numbers are all very spot on. I have no interest there. Buddy Hield, so if you see at the top line there, overall without Steph, with Jimmy, he's averaging about the same amount of points as he does all year, so his numbers don't change. His prop change, though, Buddy Hield over his points prop, 13.5 went up to 14.5. And then Pods, it looks like it says Poos, but it's Pods, Podzimski. So I like his points prop. Again, I keep saying this. I'm waiting for the big Pods breakout game. It has to be coming soon. He's averaging 2 more points per game in games without Steph Curry. That's through 5 games. I know he hasn't had a good series. He hasn't put up this many points yet. It's just due. It's so annoying. So I keep waiting for that. The other thing I would say too, and these are the Celtics trends I mentioned before. I don't know how I just was talking about Jason Tatum and I skipped the other two. Okay, Jaylen Brown. So he's had at least 20 points in all the Celtics home games against the Knicks, including both this series in Boston. At Madison Square Garden in Game 3, he went under his points prop of 21.5 and 19 points. Brown's points prop is now 22.5. Brown's been terrible at MSG this year. I know he's great in the playoffs. At MSG, he had 12 and 6 points in the regular season. So just 22.5 just feels too high for me. Celtics point guard Derek White, he's had some very good numbers against the Knicks. He put up 19 in Game 1, 20 in Game 2, 17 in Game 3. In the regular season, White had 24, 17, 19, and 14 points. His points prop, White, was 15.5 for Game 2. It was 16.5 this morning, and it dropped to 15.5. So just keep your eyes out for that. For the Timberwolves, I also mentioned them in the newsletter. I'm just going with Julius Randle overs until proven otherwise. Power forwards have had success against the Warriors without Steph Curry. You look at the games, Giannis, 20 points, Okongwu, 22, Bam, 27. They all had at least 8 rebounds. Okongwu and Giannis had at least 6 assists. Randall's gone over 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists in both these games. So I would say Randall overs. And then Jaden McDaniels, another power forward who could have success against the Warriors. Since Steph's been out, McDaniels put up 16 and 15. His points props 12.5. His regular season numbers, McDaniels weren't great against the Warriors. Again, those were all with Steph, so you have to keep that in mind. So that's what I would look at for the NBA tonight. Major League Baseball. I do have some other things I have to add too. I have to add fishy lines to this. For anyone who's new tuning in, I have to add these all like one at a time. It is very annoying, but I think, one more to add. My mom says that I mumble, so I'm trying not to mumble. Batters to watch. Christian Yelich, he's a player to watch against Ben Lively tonight. He's got great numbers, 3 doubles and a homer. Justin Turner, double and a homer against Cal Quantrill. Nico Horner, 5 for 8 with a triple against Quantrill. Willie Adames has great numbers against Merrill Kelly, 368 with 2 homers. Gleyber Torres, 2 doubles and a homer against Tanner Houck. Ryan McMahon also, he's got a double, a triple, 2 homers, and 13 at-bats against Tyler Mahle. So I would definitely look at McMahon. Unders to watch in Major League Baseball tonight. Randy Arozarena, he's got 2 hits and 18 at-bats against Clark Schmidt. And remember, Astros history. Marcell Ozuna, 2 for 12. Or excuse me, Rays history is what I meant. Marcell Ozuna, 2 for 12 with a double and 3 strikeouts against Jake Irvin. Again, I'm just like stuck on the fact I just said that about Randy Arozarena. Anyway, Matt Olson, 1 for 10 with 4 strikeouts against Jake Irvin. Eugenio Suarez, 179 with 15 Ks against Justin Verlander. That's crazy. 15 Ks and 28 at-bats is wild. Ketel Marte, 2 for 16 with a double and 4 Ks against Verlander. And then Jorge Soler, 0 for 11 with 4 Ks against Michael King. Cal Quantrill is the new Patrick Corbin. They're kind of like they go hand in hand. So, yeah, I would agree with that. Jessica said, thanks, Daniel, for this, too. Because he said that. I was like trying to figure out where that was coming from. Verlander was teammates with Suarez, too. He knows him. Good insights. See, the chat's got great insights. Speaking of Verlander, we could go to K-props to watch. So the first one, which is a little scary because of who he is Christopher Sanchez. And unfortunately, if you saw the newsletter this morning as a premium subscriber, you'll know that Jessica and I are on different sides of this. You could see Jessica's side for why she likes the under on the newsletter at theprepqueen.com. I like the over. I thought there was good value here at plus 106. Sanchez has faced 5 high K rate lineups. He went over 5.5 Ks in 4 of those 5 starts. He's pitching at home, which is helpful. Lefty starters, 7-2 over under their K prop against the Cards, averaging just over 5 strikeouts a game. It's big splits, lefties versus righties against the Cards. Righties averaging just over 4 strikeouts a game against St. Louis. Lefties just over 5. Righties 12-17 over under their K prop. Lefties 7-2 over under their K prop. I was looking at the value play there at plus 106 for Sanchez over. Clark Schmidt under 5.5 Ks, minus 120. I think someone said in the chat Hard Rock had a better number, so hopefully this isn't moving against me too bad. Schmidt started the year late because he was injured, so he's had 4 starts under his belt in 2025. Out of those 4 starts, they were against 3 of them were against low K rate teams. He had 2 against Kansas City, 6 against Toronto, and 4 against San Diego. 2 of the 3 of those, they go under 5.5 Ks. Righty starters, 7-18 over under their K prop against the Mariners, averaging just under 4 strikeouts a game. The MLB prop spreadsheet on theprepqueen.com, you can check that out. You'll see only 2 righties in the last 10 games have had 6 or more strikeouts against Seattle. They're really just not striking out that much. Arizona's righty Merrill Kelly over 4.5 Ks. This one has value at plus 120. Again, another just good odds here. I know that Greg Peterson's down on Merrill Kelly, but I think the over has some value. He had 8 strikeouts last year in 7 innings against San Francisco. This season, he's only gone over in 1 of his 3 starts against the high K rate team, which scares me. The Giants just strike out a lot. Righties are 17-12 over under, averaging about 5 strikeouts a game against San Francisco. So you could look there. I also have 1 fishy line for today. I know Greg liked the Tigers. I feel bad going against any guest, but oof, there is a reason that Tigers line is plus 100. It's crazy to think that the public, of course, is going to back the Tigers. It's Tanner Houck's having a bad year. The Red Sox, not as good as the Tigers, who are the best team in the AL right now. It's fishy. Come on. You've got a 16-cent move. At one point, I saw a 20-cent move against the Tigers. If you dive deeper, you realize that in 2 starts this month, Tanner Houck has a 2.31 ERA. He's 2-0 with a 1.50 ERA in his 3 career starts against Detroit. The Red Sox bullpen has allowed just 1 earned run across their last just over 18 innings pitched through the last 5 games. The Tigers have lost 2 in a row, scoring 4 combined runs. This could be a very good time for Tanner Houck, who has a good history against Detroit, to be facing a Tigers team that hasn't been scoring that much. Just saying. We're going very over today. You know what the last segment is. Royal Lux! Royal Lux of the day. Going with the Clark Schmidt under 5.5 strikeouts. Just said it before. I'll say it again. He's only had 4 starts this year, and 3 of the 4 were against low K rate teams. He went under 5.5 Ks in 2 of those 3 starts against low K rate teams. Righty starters are 7-18 over under their K prop against the Mariners, averaging just under 4 strikeouts a game. Only 2 righties in the last 10 games have seen 6 or more strikeouts against Seattle. Clark Schmidt under 5.5 Ks. Also addressed how the Yankees bullpen's pretty rested. Their ace Max Fried is on the mound tomorrow. Not as long of a leash for Clark Schmidt tonight. Jaylen Brown under 22.5 points. This number just feels too high for his history against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. At MSG in the regular season, he had 12 and 6 points. Already went under 22.5 with 19. It's like the book raised this from 21.5 to 22.5 because he got so close with 19.5 with 19 points in game 3. The number's just too high. Brown doesn't shoot as well at Madison Square Garden. Julius Randle over 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Julius Randle's points prop was 18.5 in game 2. It's now up to 20.5. We had the over in that game 2 game of 18.5 because Randle should have had 20 plus. Now we're at 20.5 for game 4 for points. He's put up at least 24 points, Randle, in these last 2 games without Steph Curry. Power forwards and centers, they've had success against the Warriors without Steph. Giannis, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Okongwu from the Hawks, 22 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. Bam Adebayo from the Heat, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. Randle's gone over 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists in both games that Steph has been out. I would look to Randle overs tonight. I'm just going to take all 3 because he's been dominating the points, the rebounds, and assists. Now that I gave you 5 extra minutes, I am going to cut some clips for social media, get some dinner, and enjoy the Knicks-Celtics game tonight. And thank you to the New York Yankees for playing on the West Coast right now because the Yankees aren't going to play until closer to 10 p.m. Eastern time, right when the Knicks game is over. So I'm going to be able to watch both with no issues. Thank you. It is a New York miracle because there is a very good chance we are going to be given a New York curse on Friday if the Knicks are home against the Celtics at the Garden and the Yankees are playing the Mets, Yankee Stadium. Oy! New York is going to be on fire. Oh, subs and Sports Grid. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today on this Monday. We had a really big audience today, so I'm very, very glad about it. Please subscribe to the YouTube page, Prop Queen Sports. Like, subscribe. It helps a lot. Subscribe to the newsletter if you want to get all this information earlier in the day, or if you don't want to have to go back on the YouTube and scroll through, you can just get this at 6:02 p.m. The newsletter comes out, 6:02 p.m. Eastern time. The newsletter comes out at thepropqueen.com. Go check it all out. Prop Queen Sports, thepropqueen.com. New York Parlay, that is my nightmare. Good luck tonight with all of your bets. I will see you all tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern time here on the Prop Queen Pod.